What's up guys, it's Gnarly, and for this video I'm going to be attempting something that I've never done before. Recently on YouTube I've noticed a surge of these challenge playthrough type videos of various video games in my recommended section. Can you beat Fallout 3 with only a BB gun? Can you beat Pokemon Platinum without catching Pokemon? Can you beat Super Mario 64 DS without Mario? You know, stuff like that. I don't know why it is, but I find these videos to be some of the most entertaining on the gaming side of YouTube. Challenge runs of video games are almost as old as gaming itself because, let's face it, you can only play a game so many times before you start to get tired of it. Challenge runs are a great way to get more enjoyment out of a game, and what's even cooler about them is that you're doing it in a way that the developers never intended. RPGs are some of the best games to do challenge runs of because of the amount of customization and strategy that they have. So, being a MegaTen focused channel, I figured why not do one for an SMT game. The game I decided on was Shin Megami Tensei IV, since it's one of the shorter and most accessible games in the series, and I played it so many times I've practically memorized it. It took me a while to come up with a challenge, but I concluded on doing a run where I can't fuse demons. Fusion is one of the core mechanics of Shin Megami Tensei. You're supposed to keep fusing demons as you level up, and through fusion you can pass important skills onto your new demons so that your party keeps getting stronger and stronger as you move on. Playing through the game without fusing means I have to play through the entire game relying solely on recruited demons without any control over their skill sets. It also limits the compendium of demons I can use. Light demons are completely off the table since you don't normally encounter them. The first rule is obviously that I can't fuse demons. Thankfully, there's no point in the game that actually requires me to fuse demons, so I won't need to make any exceptions. I'm also not allowed to use the demonic compendium, but since most of the time I only ever use that for the purpose of fusing demons, I doubt I'll even need it. Obviously, I won't use any of the grinding or app point DLC either, because that's basically cheating. Lastly, I'm not allowed to change the difficulty at any point in the game. And another thing that's not really a rule is that I'm not going to be going for any specific endings. I thought about making it so that I have to get the neutral ending because that's basically the true ending in this game, but because that's pretty much impossible to get without religiously following a guide, I'm just not going to bother with it. Also, one last thing before I get on with the game is that because I can't afford 3DS capture software, I don't really have a choice for recording other than to emulate using Citra and record with OBS. Unfortunately, because 3DS emulation is still pretty new, combined with the fact that I don't have the most powerful PC, there might be some frame rate and or resolution dips here and there, along with the occasional technical hiccup. So if there are, I apologize in advance. Now that that's out of the way, let's get on with the game. It starts out with the opening we all know and love. Flynn flying through the sky while some voices yell a bunch of random stuff. We put in our name, we meet Jonathan and Walter, then we wake up and meet our friend Issachar. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that I'm not really paying much attention to the dialogue since most of it I know already. I also just want to say I really wish there was an option to skip these cutscenes because I am getting some horrible lag during them. Seriously, Citra's frame rate is showing me between 14 and 17 frames per second, so I probably won't be showing much footage of these. Anyway, we make our way to Mikado Castle, the gauntlet shines, and after a long nap, we meet the rest of the cast. We then go into Naraku to begin our basic training, where we meet Burroughs, and before I continue, I'm just going to save to make sure the save feature of this emulator works. Now that I know the save feature works, I make my way in and fight my first demon. Now, in terms of performance, I'm getting some lag during the menus, but for the most part, during gameplay, the game runs just fine. After the demon is defeated, I get my level up, and this is where I get to decide on my character's build. Because of how broken SMTIV is with its stat distribution, I'm going to do what all the Let's Players of this game did and dump 90% of my stats into magic. For the next part of training, I recruit Centaur, then Napaya, and then Laham Dirg. After this, I didn't really have much of a problem finishing the rest of my training. I recruited a McCoy and a Fuxi, and I beat the boss pretty easily. Once I get back though, I have to complete the hardest quest in the game, meeting Jonathan and Walter on top of the tower. So we go. I get another laggy cutscene, another dream sequence, I meet Kay, and then Navarre challenges us to some side quests. Once I get back into Naraku, Burroughs tells me about the Fusion app, which I'm required to buy, but I don't actually have to open it, so I don't. And speaking of apps, now that I have a good amount of app points, it's time for me to decide which apps I'm going to need for this run. Obviously, I'm not going to need any apps that involve fusion, nor will I need the Demon Skill Plus app since demons naturally only learn a couple of skills. For right now, I'm going to focus on the ones that help me recruit demons, like the Scout apps. Right now, I can only buy Scout Gift, but later I can upgrade it to Scout Plus, which will actually automatically recruit every demon lower level than the demon that I recruit when I talk. During this part of the game, I recruited Mirmeco-Leon, Malcolm, Chagrin, Griffin, and Bilwis, and I got the Expand Stock 1-2, Scout Bonus, and Scout Plus apps. But most important is that after the Alrane fight, my Chagrin learned Racunda, my first buff skill that automatically makes him one of my most important demons. Now that I'm out of Naraku, I'm given the second hardest quest, getting breakfast with Jonathan and Walter. After messing around with them for a bit, we take a nap and then wake up to see our hometown getting attacked by demons. We make it through the forest and beat the bosses no problem. I recruit Daibok and Stonka, and my Daibok learns Mazio, giving me a much-needed multi-target attack. Unfortunately, now I am at the point where I have to start deleting demons. I can buy the Expand Stock apps, but then I'd be using app points I need to save for other important apps, like skill expansion, so I'll just have to save them for later in the game. But anyway, we're finally done with the prologue, and we can now move on to Tokyo. I make my way through Naraku and make it to the door on the 5th level. So far, I haven't had any problems with any of the bosses, but I feel that that's about to change, because now we have to fight our first real boss, the Minotaur. For those of you that haven't played this game yet, the Minotaur is one of the most infamously hard bosses among JRPG fans. He has a skill called Labyrinth Strike, which deals mega almighty damage to multiple enemies, an amount that the player never gets access to at any point in the game. And keep in mind that we're not even in Tokyo yet. He also nulls fire, so if you get Walter as your party member, he might use Agi, which will cause the Minotaur to smirk and deal critical hits. If that happens, you're pretty much dead. So the first battle starts. I get Jonathan, who doesn't use Agi. Thank God. It starts off pretty good, actually. I get to the dialogue option to lower his aim, but for some reason after that, he hits Oni Kagura, a low accuracy move, twice in a row. The second one he crits, which causes him to smirk the second time, and ends up killing everyone in my party except for me. Well, my main character has strong magic, and he should be low on health at this point in the battle, so I try to solo him, but I fail and he kills me. My second attempt goes much better, though. Most of my party knows Bufu, and I'm able to dodge some of his attacks. However, toward the end, he kills one of my demons, so I'm kind of afraid he'll end up killing Flynn again, but I decide to risk it and go all offensive and try to finish him off. I end up failing myself, but thankfully Jonathan jumps in and finishes him off for me. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I love you. That honestly went a lot better than I thought it would, but I did get pretty lucky in that second fight. So we go further down, unlock the first terminal, which I name Perverse just because Isabeau told me not to. And now it's time to fight Medusa. The first 3 attempts don't go very well. She just ends up focusing on Flynn and killing him, which is pretty much game over since Flynn is the one doing most of the damage. Also, unlike Minotaur, Medusa uses gun attacks, and I don't have as many ways to counter that as I do physical attacks. There's also the fact that most of Medusa's attacks are either multi-hit or multi-target. She also has stun needles, which will bind whoever it hits. Yeah, and people say Minotaur is harder. Well, eventually I figure out that the best way to do it is to maximize my defense at the very beginning of the battle, and then praying to RNGesus that she doesn't get any critical hits. After 4 failed attempts, I finally bring her down, and we can now move on to Tokyo. I get everything done I need to in Ueno, including recruit Linan Sheed, who knows Medea, which is a skill I'm definitely going to need. After purchasing the Demolingual app, I also recruit a Preda, who gets Bad Company. Bad Company is a skill that summons all your strongest demons at once, so it can be very helpful if you're in a pinch. Anyway, we get to the Counter Demon Force base, where I recruit several new demons, including Strix, who gets both Tarunda and Spirit Drain. Spirit Drain is going to be essential for me because it basically ensures that I never run out of MP. I then make my way to Shinjuku, where I meet Hikaru, and this is a very important part in the game because it opens up the Skill Augment app, an app that drastically increases the chances of my demon skills mutating into a better skill when they level up, which is essential for this playthrough because without fusion, there are so many skills that are just completely off the table. With this, I actually have a chance to get them. Unfortunately, this app costs 60 points, so it's going to have to wait. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that on the way to Shinjuku, my Poltergeist evolved into Quicksilver. Yeah, did you know that demons can evolve in MegaTen games? It's a mechanic that mostly goes unused because by the time a demon will evolve, you've probably already fused it away or just recruited the one that it evolves into. But this is actually going to help me out a lot because by doing this, I can get new demons and transfer skills to them without fusing. It's honestly kind of surprising how many throwaway mechanics are in this game that are actually really helping me in this particular run. So anyway, before we can move on, we have to complete the corpse cleanup quest. The corpses are pretty easy, but when we're done, we have to fight Dolahan, which took me 4 tries. It basically went the same way as the Medusa fight did. I kept getting critted and my attacks kept missing, but we eventually got lucky enough to beat her. Now that we're done here, we get to our next major boss fight, Kuebiko. This is actually one of the easiest bosses in the game. He doesn't seem to have any strong moves, and because he's a grass-type Pokemon, he's super weak to fire. We go through the battle extremely quickly without any of our demons dying. I basically just spam fire skills and he dies in 3 or 4 turns. After our level up from that fight, we now have enough app points to buy Skill Augment. And get this. The first skill a demon of mine learns after this is Miragion for my knocker. This is definitely going to make things interesting. Now it's time to make our way to Ikebukuro with all of our new demons. We meet Kaga, remove the barrier with our Jirei Talisman, and then make our way down to Sunshine 60 where we fight our next major boss, Shi Wangmu. For the first attempt, I get obliterated in the first turn due to critical hits. I changed things up a bit for the next attempt though. On my way down, my Night Stalker learned Rakukaja, so I use him, Strix, and Quicksilver to minimize Shi Wangmu's attack while maximizing my defense and lowering her agility to stay alive. The second attempt goes really well until the fight is almost over, where somehow, after getting her agility minimized, she hits everyone in my party with a Megaton Press, a low accuracy move. But not only that, she gets a critical hit, smirks, uses Megaton Press again, and kills my entire party. I really hate Megaten sometimes. For attempt number 3, I do the same, except I replace Quicksilver with Tobio because he has Zanma, which Shi Wangmu is weak to, and instead I just focus on my defense. Once my defense is maximized, I swap Night Stalker for Quicksilver, who repels electricity. So every time Shi Wangmu goes for Maziodyne, it gets reflected and she loses all her turns. Third time proves to be the charm, as she keeps going for Maziodyne, which my Quicksilver reflects, and I'm fortunate enough for her to keep missing physical attacks. After several Zanmas, Shi Wangmu bites the dust. I then make my way to Ikebukuro Station's east entrance. I go to the domain where the Black Samurai is, and while in here, my Zen learns Fog Breath, which I promptly whisper to Flynn, because that's basically Tarunda and Secunda in one skill. We go further in, capture the Black Samurai, and go back to Mikado. Once everything is done there, our next quest brings us to Kagome Tower, where we recruit Orias, Baphomet, and Samyaza, and at the end, we have to fight Asmodeus. Oh, and for the Asmodeus fight, we really gotta win on our first attempt, because if we don't, there's going to be some alternate timeline where Isabeau has to marry this thing. Yeah, my first time playing, I imagined a wedding between the two, and I really wish I could wipe that image from my memory. Now, Asmodeus isn't a particularly difficult boss if we fight him the normal way, but one thing that's interesting about him is that it's actually possible to kill him in one hit with Hama. Yeah, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but that's how we're going to defeat him today. I spend the first few turns raising my defense and lowering his evasion, while my Wendigo, who evolved from my Jack Frost, uses Hama. After just a few tries, Hama hits and Asmodeus is no more. We then make our way back down to the bottom of the tower, and on our way out, we get an app point card. Now, I feel like this is a good time to talk about my use of app points. You're probably wondering why I haven't been using any of the Demon Enhancer apps. Well, I actually thought that you unlocked them later in the game, so I've been using them all on Expand stock, but I actually just found out that you need to buy Demon Skill +1 in order to get them. I now feel like an idiot, because the Demon Enhancer apps are some of the most helpful in the game. They give your demons more stat bonuses as they level up, which makes it possible for demons you keep for a long time to have higher stats than demons you get later on, which is especially helpful for this particular playthrough. So, even though I probably won't need it, I begrudgingly purchase the Demon Skill +1 app and begin saving my app points for the Demon Enhancer apps. Anyway, getting back to the game, we go back to Mikado and are given our next quest where we make our way to Roppongi. While in Roppongi, I recruit some of my favorite demons: Satana, Dis, Incubus, and Harry Jack. Harry Jack is especially important because he has Warcry, which is basically Tarunda and Rakunda in one skill, and as soon as I get the chance to whisper it, I'm going to replace it with Fog Breath because I think defense is more important than accuracy. I also recruit a Mo Rio, who before long evolves into Inferno, and the only reason I'm keeping him is because of the second demon in the evolutionary line, which you'll find out about soon enough. Anyway, we get to the next big boss, Koga Saburo, who apparently is supposed to be one of the harder bosses, but I've honestly never really had a problem with him. This playthrough wasn't an exception either. His attacks hardly do anything, and after just a couple of Bufulas, he's dead. We now have to accept Tayama's quest to kill Yuriko, which requires us to join the Ring of Gaia. Once we get to Tokyo Station, though, instead of telling the guard that we want to join, we tell him we're here to kill their leader. So after we beat him, he lets us in and tells us we should train, then kill the leader.
Why don't you build some strength with us?
Talk about not getting along with your boss. Anyways, we go through the Ring of Gaia's initiation thing, meet Lilith, go to Florida Cafe, and then go to Midtown where we have to fight Tenkai. Now, Tenkai isn't a difficult boss either, it's just that for some reason magic attacks don't seem to deal a whole lot of damage to him. All my elemental attacks seem to do the same amount as energy drain, so I just keep spamming that while my demons attack too. Eventually he dies and we can make our way into Midtown. Now, the demons in Midtown are very high level. So far I'm not high enough level to recruit most of them, but because of that they also provide a ton of EXP. By the time I meet Mastema, my Flynn's magic hits the 200 mark. I add Gui, Xion, and Silky to my team, and my Porwit, who evolved from Inferno, learns Augidine, which I whisper to my Flynn, making this my first heavy damage skill. Once we talk to Mastema, he opens the path for us, and we can make our way down to Reverse Hills. While down there, my Incubus evolves into another one of my favorite demons, Succubus. My Kelpie also evolves into Valkyrie, and I recruit however you pronounce that. Now it's time to finally be out of here. We don't actually fight the boss, we just kinda get knocked out by it. We wind up in Tayama's office and then go back to Mikado. Now we're at a very crucial point in the game, the route split. Whoever you choose to side with is going to have a significant effect on your alignment. I choose to side with Walter because siding with him means I get to fight more bosses, those bosses being Koga Saburo, Michizane, Omoikane, and Yamato Takeru. Koga Saburo is a bit harder than last time, but we still beat him pretty easily. I just have Flynn and Gui Xion use Bufudine, while my Valkyrie buffs and heals, with my T whatever just passing turns, and after a few hits, Koga Saburo goes down. Michizane isn't particularly hard, he's just kind of annoying with his status ailment move that makes my entire party sick, but we just keep fighting him and he eventually goes down after we do enough damage to him. The Omoikane fight goes about the same way. He uses Hamon to kill my Succubus, but I don't really need her as I just finish him off with a few Augidines. Now, before I fight Yamato Takeru, I want to make sure that I recruit Ouroboros, who is probably the best demon I could get at this point. Not only because she has good affinities with no weaknesses and learns Megidola very early in the game, but also because she gets skills that null all ailments. This is going to help a lot in upcoming boss fights. Anyway, Yamato Takeru doesn't have a weakness, we just have to keep hitting him with whatever we can. After buffs, his attacks hardly do anything, and ours are doing quite a lot. He also has quite a bit of HP, but eventually he goes down, and now it's time to activate the Yamato reactor. But before we do, let's listen to Taima desperately beg us not to.
Hey! You with the ponytail! These are demons we're talking about here! Hey! Are you listening to me? Don't blow me off, kid! Come on! I'm telling you! Don't do this!
Now we get to Blasted Tokyo, which of course means new demons to recruit, one of which being Pachacamac. He's especially important because he's going to give us Concentrate, which will allow us to deal more damage while saving MP. Other than him though, the enemies in Blasted Tokyo are much higher level than we are, which means I'll be getting a ton of EXP from every fight. But that doesn't change the fact that they're total pushovers. Now that my Flynn has both Megidola and Concentrate, I can easily vaporize them on the first turn. Anyways, we get the main quest and go to Pluto's castle, where we get to fight one of my favorite bosses. You guessed it, it's Pluto. Anyway, Pluto proves to be a lot harder than I was expecting, and this is mainly due to his Vulnera attack. It's an almighty attack that hits the entire party and binds anyone it hits. It doesn't work on Ouroboros, but Ouroboros can't take Pluto on by herself. Ouroboros only has Megidola and not a lot of MP or magic to back it up. Flynn, on the other hand, has a ton of magic and Bufudine, which Pluto is weak to, but if Flynn is bound, he can't attack. I would also use Gui Shan to buff my defense with Rakukaja, but he's weak to Pluto's Sunny Ray attack, and will not only give him more turns, but will also poison my entire party. Eventually, I figure out what I need to do. I get his evasion all the way down with my Zacome and Succubus, while I pass turns with Ouroboros and attack with Flynn. And that's really the best thing I can do for this fight, just lower his evasion and hope his attacks miss. Well, after 4 failed attempts and a lot of luck, Pluto finally shuts off.
The Lord is the real Rouse for me. Boy.
Now it's time to move on to Infernal Tokyo. We go through Infernal Tokyo pretty much the same way we went through Blasted Tokyo, just using Megidola to blast all the enemies into oblivion. On the way, we recruit several demons, including Yaramikala. I should also mention that after I got my inventory maximized with Expand Stock, I wasn't sure what to spend my app points on, so I decided to buy Expert Scout, which opened me up to the Stats and Skills plugin apps. Stats plugin just makes your demon stats increase by 1 when you recruit them, but Skills plugin actually makes your demons learn a new skill. So my Yaramikala learned Heaven's Bow, and my Dakini learned Maziodyne when I recruited them. I really wish I'd known about this app sooner. So anyway, after a few easy mid-bosses, we get to the Kenji fight. I should also note that this is where the alignment lock happens. Once you face Kenji, you can't do anything to change your alignment. Anyway, Kenji is one of the hardest bosses so far. In the first couple of attempts, I get extremely unlucky and miss several of my attacks. He also goes for attacks that I have weaknesses to, including Mamoudune, which Flynn himself is weak to. One of the things that makes this fight so hard though is his Ancient Curse skill. This skill inflicts every ailment possible on all party members. Once he uses that on me, there's pretty much nothing my party can do other than pray to RNGesus that my ailments will wear off and I'll be able to attack. Eventually, I figure out what I need to do though. I lower his evasion with my Atropos using Fog Breath. I keep my Ouroboros on the field so I have a demon unaffected by the Ancient Curse, and I use Yaramikala because he reflects his physical skills, which will make him lose turns. For my last attempt, he doesn't actually seem to go for magic that much. In fact, he doesn't even go for Ancient Curse. His normal attack hits everyone, including Yaramikala, so once he loses his turns, I just spam Agidyne, which he's weak to, and before long, Kenji goes down. And after the fight, my Decarabia levels up and learns Meteoran from Skill Augment, which I am definitely whispering to Flynn. Now it's time to see which ending I'm locked into, although theoretically I could end the game here by going for the white ending, but I feel that would be kind of a cheap thing to do, so I choose not to, and I'm given my very last alignment dialogue option. Once I make it, I'm greeted by Jonathan, meaning I'm locked into the law ending. And, you know, to be honest, I'm kinda glad I didn't get neutral, because that would involve a bunch of boring side quests, and honestly, I really don't want to do that. Out of curiosity, though, I load my last save and make the chaos choice instead to see if it'll make any difference, but alas, it does not. We make our way through the monochrome forest, either recruiting or blasting away any demons we encounter, and the white barely put up any challenge at all. The only one that sort of gave us any difficulty was the Isabeau one, who landed a lucky Mamudoon, which killed both Flynn and Orthrus. She then tried to hit Giramacalla with physical attacks, but because Giramacalla reflects that, she couldn't do anything, and the battle ended with just Giramacalla standing. You know, I don't know why, but Giramacalla is such a good demon in every game he's in. Now that we're back in the material world and have Jonathan, who is now Merkabah, in our party, it's time to head to Camp Ichigaya and defeat Lucifer. We're met by Isabeau as soon as we walk in, and unfortunately, we now have to fight her.
This woman has come in contact with Tokyo's manga. She is unclean and would lead we righteous ones astray.
She doesn't really put up much of a fight, though. The fight with Isabeau isn't really supposed to be one that challenges your skills, it mostly just exists for story purposes, but it can be challenging if you get off to a bad start, because she starts with 4 demons that all have different skills. After a concentrated Megidola, her demons are at red health, and after another regular Megidola, they're no more. Once her demons are dead, Isabeau can't really put up much of a fight, and after a concentrated heavy attack, Isabeau goes down. After that, I get to the Hall of Eternity, where I breeze my way through Belial and Lucifuge. I decide to stick around for a while and recruit some new demons before I leave. And then, the most insane chain of events happens. I start by recruiting a Rongda, who immediately learns Deadly Wind thanks to the Skills plugin app. I've been begging for that to happen this whole time, and it happens in the last dungeon. But that's not all. Yim, who I also recruit, immediately learns Ragnarok. That's Cert's exclusive skill. What? Since this happened before they whispered to me, of course I promptly passed these skills on to my Flynn. But I was so excited for Deadly Wind that when I whispered from Rongda, I completely forgot about her Debilitate skill. And I feel like an idiot. But that's not all that happened. While too late to whisper, my Dakini learned Luster Candy. And you're gonna love this last one. During combat, a Fafnir begged me not to kill him, so I said I'd let him live if he became my ally. Unfortunately, at the time, he was too high level, and when this happens, they'll find another demon for you to take their place. So instead, he got me to recruit Yatagarasu. Now, Yatagarasu isn't a particularly good demon, but remember what I said in the beginning about light demons being off the table? Well, Yatagarasu is of the Avian race, which is a light-aligned race. So I just found out that by having high-level demons find demons to recruit for you, it's actually possible to get light demons. That makes Yatagarasu our first and probably only light demon of this run. But now it's time to move on to the Hall of Eternal Light, an area full of extremely high-level demons. I get to the terminal, and this is where I'm expecting to fight Mara, but instead I get these lame, weak demons. Why? Well, I actually heard that for the terminals in SMT4, the bosses you fight for the terminals aren't connected to the locations, they're based on which order you do them in. So I'm guessing I missed one? So, because I don't want to leave you guys without a Mara boss fight, I exit Lucifer's palace and go to the Tenozu terminal. But when I get there, I'm disappointed because I instead get a Jack Frost horde. I don't even remember fighting these guys in any other playthrough. Well, I really don't know what to say other than I'm just disappointed that I didn't get to fight Mara. Sorry guys. I take the Tenozu terminal back to Lucifer's palace, and after several high-level encounters, we finally make it to the last stretch of the game. It's been a long journey, and a strange one. Yes, pun intended. And now, it is time to fight the final boss, the Demon Lord Lucifer. For my first attempt, I decide to lead off with Dakini, Rongda, and Dekarabia for my team. Rhonda because she has Debilitate and she's a good replacement for Gear since she also reflects physical attacks, and Dakini because she has Luster Candy, and Dekarabia because he's my only demon with Meteoran. The fight doesn't go so well. Lucifer's biggest problem for me is his Evil Shine skill, which inflicts panic on everyone it hits. When he's not using that, he's spamming Debilitate, which cancels out our Luster Candies, and when he's not using that, he's using Dekunda, which cancels out our Debilitates. And other than that, I just get extremely unlucky with the panic ailment. And I also keep having to use the turns I do have to use Dekunda stones or to heal. Eventually, I do get enough damage on him to bring him to his second form, but I don't last very long. He gets a chain of critical hits, killing Flynn, which prevents me from summoning new demons, and eventually he kills my entire party except for Rhonda. But because she reflects Fizz and Gun, she's able to hold herself out a lot longer. Normally I would have reset the game here, but I wanted to see if I could get a repeat of what I did with White Isabeau, where I have one demon solo the boss. And Lucifer is actually pretty dumb, because he keeps going for attack and myriad arrows. Eventually, he finally figures out that using physical attacks probably isn't a good idea, so he starts using Evil Shine and Glacial Blast, and eventually kills Rhonda. Now it's time for my second attempt. This time I swap Dekarabia out for Ouroboros because she nulls all ailments, which protects us from the Evil Shine, but other than that, my strategy is the same. Lucifer seems to be a lot dumber this time. He doesn't go for Dekaja or Debilitate, and when I do get hit with the occasional Evil Shine, he's also going for a lot more Hades Blast and Myriad Arrows, which keep hitting Rhonda, which causes him to lose his turns. After just 2 concentrated Deadly Winds, I bring Lucifer to his second form, and you would think that after getting his butt kicked earlier, he would change his strategy a little, but nope, he does the same stuff he did before. So my strategy is basically the same. Buffs, debuffs, concentrate, and Deadly Wind. After just 2 or 3 concentrated Deadly Winds, Lucifer is no more.
If you've beaten me, perhaps.
We watch him fall, activate the reactor, watch Tokyo get destroyed, and then the credits roll. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Shin Megami Tensei IV. You want to know what I never really understood about this game? You get the law ending by being nice and kind and merciful and whatnot, but in the law ending itself, you commit mass genocide against Tokyo. That does not make any sense. But anyway, there you have it, guys. It is more than possible to beat Shin Megami Tensei IV without ever fusing a single demon. I gotta be honest though, I was kinda disappointed by this playthrough. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I did it, but it was a lot easier than I was expecting. I was kinda hoping it would be one of those things where I'm just barely able to scrape my way through and have to rely a lot more on RNG. While I did have the occasional challenge here and there, I never really had to go out of my way to get past a certain point in the game, and most of the exciting stuff didn't happen until the very end. That being said, I still did have a lot of fun, especially because not being able to fuse demons encouraged me to use things that I normally would have just shrugged off, and it even led to me discovering things that I didn't even know were in this game. And you know, that's what I love about this game. There is just so much content packed into Shin Megami Tensei IV, and it just seems that every time I go back to this game, I discover something that I didn't know about before. That's the sort of thing that makes challenging runs like this fun, and I will definitely be doing another video like this at some point. Heck, I might even stream it, so if any of you guys have ideas for challenge runs of MegaTen games, I would love to hear them. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video. I hope y'all enjoyed, and be sure to rate, comment, and or subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to check out my other links in the description. Until next time, I will see you all later.